you without getting off the camera. Anything that you can actually see or you can observe around you, and you can identify any mathematical property, and you've got to put that in the chat box down. We are going to be exploring how do we introduce creative math in the primary section, wherein kids are still not getting still getting the hang of the online training classes. Wow, we've got a very quick response from Shailaji. A wall clock, a water bottle, got fingers, shapes around us, the TV console, the laptop shapes. Okay, I'm liking this 3D shapes. Yes, money, sofa, math in the kitchen, refrigerator, computer, a computer screen, but patterns on the curtain. We have a table. Uh, yeah, area, perimeter, time, volume, wardrobes, doors, photo frame, line angles, table, calendar, everything around us. That's so true. Wow, that's okay. Number locks, yes. Geometry. So I'm really happy to see the enthusiasm that's coming up. Yes, very good. Jaya ma'am, no problem. Okay, we have shapes. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. I think yes, integers. Okay, flat structure. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause all of y'all to just wait with your responses. I am going to ask a few teachers to come. I will call out their names and I would want them to, just randomly just unmute yourself and just share your views on what you just thought about it. We could have, I think, Nidhi ma'am, Nidhi Dikshit ma'am. Could you join? Could you unmute and join us?
Yes, sir.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Kiran
Am I
sir, you
audible?
must
Hello.
be talking
Yes, sir.
presentation mode.
Can you hear me?
Kiran sir,
Uh, yeah.
yes sir, please go on.
Yeah. Yes, Nidhi ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, sir. Hello.
Okay. Just to make sure. Okay. So great. Nidhi ma'am can hear me. Um, okay, ma'am. Could you unmute yourself and switch on your video so that we could just have a quick one-on-one interaction? Okay, we still cannot hear you, Nidhi ma'am. Could you speak once again?
Hi. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, Nidhi ma'am, we can hear
Okay,
you.
we'll come back to ma'am in a while. Could we ask Prajakta ma'am? Could you join us?
Yes, sir. Hello. So can you hear me? Hello.
Prajakta ma'am, I can hear you. Divesh sir, can you hear Prajakta ma'am?
No, I'm unfortunately not able to hear anybody. I think that's where I was wondering. Even Nidhi ma'am must be speaking, but I couldn't hear.
Wait,
So
she was
Mr.
speaking.
Okay.
Can I request you to drop off the call and join in again if that makes a difference?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay. Friends, Divesh sir is facing some technical problems. He's going off the call and he'll join in again. I would request everybody to stay on with us and at the same time ensure your mics are on mute and nobody is using presentation mode, please, so that it doesn't cause a confusion. Presentation mode is quite tricky. Even if it gets accidentally pressed, all your screen opens up in front of the entire audience of 88 people. So, yes.
Okay, everyone. Namaste once again. I hope I should be able to hear you now. If I'm
Yes,
audible, could
Pradeshna.
you just put in a few? Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm there. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So, sir, I teach junior KG. I'm the class
Okay.
teacher of junior KG. So, probably if we have to deal with shapes, I would ask them to collect things that are there in the house of different shapes, whatever shapes they pick up, and then
Okay.
would start introducing basically the windows that they see, the doors,
Mm-hmm.
then the clock, whatever
Okay.
shapes, if I have to introduce to the
Mm-hmm.
children. So I would ask them to
Okay.
pick different shapes from the house.
Okay. That's interesting.
Mm.
So I think that's one of the most important ways of actually connecting with students. Uh, if I'm not mistaken, uh, we will try and call. I mean, I may not be able to say the right name, but please excuse me on that. Can we have Kapil ji to join us?
Kapil sir,
Are you there?
I think Kapil sir should be around.
Okay.
I'm not sure,
Uh,
maybe.
sure. So I think let's take it voluntarily. If Achal ma'am is free, if you could unmute yourself. Okay. Achal ji could not hear me, I guess. Anybody who'd like to speak about it, feel free, unmute yourself and join in.
Friends, are you able to hear Divesh sir?
Uh, I'm only
People
able to
who
hear
are
you.
right, I think there seems to be some issue.
Yes, sir, we are able to hear.
Okay, now
Okay,
I can
okay.
hear
Anybody
someone.
who's not able to hear Divesh sir, kindly mention in comments. So I'll have a check and I'll support you. Meanwhile, Divesh sir can carry on with the session.
Yeah, all those who can hear, could you just put in a yes on the chat box? Would be very helpful to see. Okay, so we're getting a lot of responses. Yeah, technically a lot of people are able to hear. Uh, okay then. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, can we go back to Anchal ma'am? Anchal Sethi ma'am, if you are around, can you join in the call, please? Or we could call Amar sir if he's around.
Yeah, I think Amar sir had joined the call. Amar sir,
Hello, Namaste sir.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible now. Go ahead, sir. How are you?
Amar sir, please go on. Amar sir, just
Me,
unmute.
Hello.
Namaste,
Namaste, ma'am. How are
Divesh,
you?
sir. This is Jaya Parekh.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Very well, ma'am. Am
So
I
I'm
audible
sorry,
to you?
I couldn't introduce you myself in the beginning of the session because of the connectivity issue, and I'm seeing that I'm again and again getting disconnected from here. So just bear with me. On behalf of everyone at RRIS family, I extend a very warm welcome and thank you. We are very grateful to have you here today. I'm also very
Most
glad
welcome.
to see an attendance of 95 people in this session, which just does not include only the RRIS staff, but many more other members. So I extend a warm welcome to each one of them as well, who comprise of educators across India and also the parents of RRIS. So, Divesh sir, uh, a very warm welcome, and we are indebted to you for taking this second session of Aadharshila Talks at RRIS. I will not be taking any further time in your introduction. We have shared the introduction and will once again convey to everybody about all the great work that you are doing. I just respect you and adore you as a very innovative, young, dynamic educator. You are a blessing and a boon to mathematics and to math teachers. Wish you all the very best and to Dinasim Learning. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think your words have been very, very kind, and you've been very humble in terms of introducing me once again. Uh, I mean, I'm really happy to hear such kind words, and I don't think any word can describe the enthusiasm you bring to the table. So, yes, with that, we'll definitely be all. I mean, you don't need any words to describe the kind of work you're already doing, which is immensely great. So, yeah,
This is all
thank you
about
so
you
much.
today, and we are very, very grateful to you for being here. Thank you so much, sir. And please go ahead, continue with the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I
Thank
shall.
you. Yes.
Okay, so Amar sir, I think you had some connectivity issue. If at all you have, if you have come back, I mean, if your network is giving you permission, could you please resume back the call? Or I would invite any teacher who would like to talk about any mathematical concept they're looking around themselves. Please open the conversation. Anybody could volunteer and join in if you can hear me clearly. Yes, Sahanya ma'am. Please go ahead. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Avinash ma'am, maybe you could take it up since we were able to hear you.
Namaste, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, as I'm not a math teacher, I'm an English teacher, but yes, I would like to I would like to just give my thoughts on that. As I can see many things around me, if I have to teach my own child like concept of mathematics, even if it is a shapes or numbers, so the very first thing I can just ask them, like he eats a chapati every day, or
hmm,
what kind of shapes he gets from that. Like it can be a triangle, it can be a circle, and then I can give him different things to count.
correct. That's a very good, very relevant example, I would say.
Yeah,
Avinash ma'am.
yeah, we have different
Yeah,
types
please
of
go ahead.
bottles. Yeah, different type of bottles at home, different kind of jars at home. We can just give to our child so that they can just identify different shapes with that. Uh,
Okay,
that's it, sir. Because
wonderful.
for,
So I think since you are a language teacher, I think no one better than you can understand this. Is that math is also a language which we've been trying to explore in terms of giving children a new perspective. And I think the way you said it, at home children are seeing a lot of math all around. So
yes.
uh, taking this example ahead, I am just going to say that I'm very excited that we have more than 100 people today, and that's very, very encouraging once again. So, okay, moving forward, I would like to speak about one important thing. In this time of lockdown, there are a few things which a lot of schools and a lot of educators have been working on, is trying to run a lot of online sessions for their kids. Now, I was just hoping that if at all there is a possibility that each educator or each parent or each child or each teacher, when they are discussing with each other any kind of consequences or the entire situation around you, try and introduce uh, yeah, try and introduce as much as possible, uh, the number literacy that is actually required for kids. Now, what do I mean by number literacy? The awareness of numbers should not be restricted to classroom objects or activities or assignments given to the kids, and not only just to show them how many objects are there in a particular place, but also to give them an opportunity to think that why the reason of these numbers are also there in the first place. Let's say, for example, as Avinash ma'am just mentioned, that we had a simple example of number of chapatis. We should try and ask children that why don't we use the word have some chapatis? Why do we use the word two chapatis or three chapatis, or the number of bottles? Why do we say why don't we just say some bottles? Why do we say four bottles? It is very important for children to understand that when they are representing anything, the value of numbers actually increases their actual meaning. Without the meaning, the numbers have no sense at all. So it's very important for introducing number literacy. So today, the first thing I'm going to be talking about is how do you introduce, or how do you inculcate the concept of number literacy in all your kids who are little ones who are still trying to get a simple understanding of what exactly math is all about, and how to cope up with these whole situation every possible way. Like, say for example, the other day when I was talking to a few kids, they were struggling to do number formation, or for that matter, trying to do a little bit of place values and stuff. So we started taking up concepts of the television channels, asking each and every child to identify which TV channel is their favorite TV channel, and all the numbers associated. Thanks to almost all the uh, you know uh, Tata Sky, Videocon, all the DTH providers that you have, you literally see that these numbers are big three-digit numbers. So kids get an understanding that with the help of these numbers, they're actually watching their favorite TV channel. Let's say if we start trying our level best to tell them, like a recent example was that a child sat down with his parents, made a list of channels that the mother likes, made a list of all the channels the father likes, and a list of channels that he himself liked. Now when this child compared all of these channels, what he did see is that there were certain channels which only his mother liked, there are some channels which only his father liked. There are some channels only which he liked. But there were a few channels which all three of them liked. But there were a few channels also wherein only his mom and dad were liking. They liked that. Um, Yes, Sanaya Khan, I was going to come to the mobile number as well. So basically, it was an interesting aspect of seeing how various channels were actually playing an important role to teach them sets. So, yeah, so Sanaya ma'am, talking about your mobile phone numbers, yes, we have done a lot of number formation. Like, say, for example, take your mother's mobile number or father's mobile number or grandparents' mobile number and just add a few digits to get an even number, or add a few digits to get an odd number, or a multiple of three, or maybe form a 5-digit number to actually make it the biggest 5-digit number. So yes, there's a lot of possibility of actually doing that. But I think like I mentioned in the beginning of the session, I would really want this session not to just be someone talking and people listening. So we'll have a lot of one-on-one conversations also. So uh, I'm going to now suggest as many teachers as you can. When you talk about number literacy, a simple example that we just shared about television and about, say, talking about mobile numbers, why don't we come up with a few examples that all of you could start sharing on the chat box, and I'll start discussing that. According to you, what are the things that can discuss pure numbers? Yes, we have date of birth. Yes, date of birth could actually be an important way. Car or bus number. Yes, age. Calendar is an interesting way, Jyoti ma'am. It's a brilliant way of actually introducing it. Clock. Numbers are always there. So see, now you start picking up each and every concept which has numbers written on it. So number literacy and the importance of that is very important. Bus route number, uh, memory game, yes. Keyboard, the highways, door number, remote control. Okay, let's see. Room number, book, yes. calculator, iPad password. Yes, that's a very smart idea, Aditi ma'am. Children are hooked on iPads these days. Yes, vehicle number as well. Pages of a book. That was a very smart idea. Uh, Google places latitude and longitude. Yes, definitely. That's an interesting thing. Ludo. Yes, all the old board games have come out now, especially when children are all at home. Uh, Thank you, ma'am. All it's all because of you. We're having some great ideas. Yes, cricket, definitely. We all are watching all old matches, so we are enjoying a lot of math in cricket as well. Yes, number of floors in a building, flight numbers. Of course, unfortunately, flights are not taking off nowadays. Uh, when children helping in cooking, measurement. That's a very good thing. Yes, we need to do that. Numbers used in recipes. Yes, absolutely. Um, train number, number of chairs, liquid measurement, school bus numbers. Fantastic. I think the list is uncountable. Uh, I mean, when you talk about absolute number, I mean, literally everything is so number based. Ringing temple bells, yes, dice. Okay. Okay, so we'll take a quick pause from here. And now what we're going to do is, uh, yes, we are going to come on that as well, the COVID-19 update. Elevator, saving liters of water. What about the number of liters of milk that is being purchased nowadays, which is, definitely on the high rise? You will never have seen all your family members sitting at home and, of course, consuming so much of milk in the whole day. Number of electronic appliances. Yes, so we have seen some great examples, but now the question arises, how do we map all of this to our basic curriculum and at the same time also give it a simple roadmap for number literacy. Yes, all the weighing machine, weight of groceries, um, shoe size. That's an interesting one. Numbers on the bill, the shirt size, um, the elevator. Also, I missed out on that. The numbers of floors written on elevators. Um, Great. So I think we'll take a break from these messages right now, and we will try and focus on a fact that if at all we were to look and map this to a simple curriculum, please understand that we all as educators have been working a lot on real life application of math, but it has come to my notice that only doing a real life application is not really going to help. So we need to take a step forward, and that is why we need to think creatively. Uh, if you see, I mean, recently it's just a irrelevant example, but if you compare it, it just happened with me this morning. Uh, we've suddenly become so accustomed to so many new apps for delivery of milk, vegetables, which were already there, but of course we never knew about it until and unless because of this situation. So as an educator, we are bound to think in a creative manner every time when there's a problem that comes in because that's what we teach them. And believe me, math is no exception to it. I mean, we all are talking about finding solutions, and which is a part and parcel of math. So we have to create a situation for children to understand that every problem will have a solution, and that is the base of math, not just solving a sum, not just getting a correct not just getting an answer correct of 5 plus 5 is not really going to help them understand, but the reason to do 5 plus 5 and what are they going to achieve out of it is the most important part. Uh, Although we have add a few more suggestions out here, I will just quickly go through that also. Um Number of cloths, measurement tape used in tailor. Yes. So now we're going to focus on how do we build this as a structured curriculum. Let's pick up a simple example that we read on the chat box out here. We look at the elevator. Now, when we look at an elevator and if you look at the numbers given on it, the question that you ask a child is that if the elevator moves from the first floor to the end floor, and if at all you look at the entire journey of the elevator, if it does not make a certain number of stops, how long does it take for it to go from top to bottom and bottom to down? How much time does it take to cover one particular floor? Now, when you give them all of this, they start realizing that everything that they're doing in terms of numbers is all actually a part and parcel of their math. So There has to be a logic, or there has to be some program which has been designed for elevators to actually move from one level to the other. But however, at this stage, since we are all on a lockdown and we want children to get more clearer and more better with their household areas, so what we try to do is we start picking up various possibilities to start saying, if these numbers are used over here, what would have happened? I mean, which you all can see, but if these numbers would have not been used over here, what would be the impact of that? So let's take up a simple example. Avinash, ma'am just said, ma'am just mentioned about data usage on phones. I think that's something which is on a complete rise at this point of time. So let's say if I at all have to be saying that I have a plan which is saying I'm using about 3 GB of data in a day. So ask children to find a suitable data plan for you, saying that I need 3 GB data every day, but I'm still falling short of it. That means, am I using the wrong data plan? So ask kids to explore it for you. Ask them to identify that if at all you've given them a criteria that this is a number three we need, but without that we can't really do it. So they start projecting and start thinking in a different manner. Prajakta ma'am has mentioned the use of a calendar. We can teach smaller children number recognition, data collection, sorry, and we play housey, odd, and even concepts. Fantastic. So yes, with the help of a calendar, we definitely do get an interesting idea. I mean, that gives us a lot of concepts available. You're moving forward, moving backward, identifying all the multiples of two, all the multiples of three, giving them an idea about multiplication or repeated addition, either of the case. But yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, in terms of data collection, as of today, if you see, when you try to ask children to create, maybe as teacher, when you're giving them some assignments to do at home, you could suggest them to collect the data, the number of hours they're actually sleeping from Monday to Friday because they're completely at home, the number of hours they're actually trying to use. Uh, you know, uh, Manisha, ma'am, I think this discussion is only towards the primary classes. The secondary section is going to start at about 4 o'clock, where we're going to be talking about math investigation models over there. So if you want, you could log out now and you could join us at around 4 o'clock. But this is primarily for grade 1 to 4. So, or maybe a little lower than grade one also. The pre-primary also could benefit from it. But yeah, others, if you are of the same age group, you could join us again at 4 o'clock. So just a shout out to everyone. Okay, so let's continue back with the idea of giving them the most important concept of number literacy. Apart from that, when you do any kind of number literacy, when you're talking about the data collection, give them a task to actually write down how many hours they're reading books, how many hours they're attending online classes, how many hours they're actually helping their parents. Make a simple data sheet and start recording a logbook and saying what exactly are they doing and how are they actually going to get all this information. Um, Yes, Kusmaji, Snakes and Ladder game is actually teaches addition. It does teach subtraction also. That when the pawn comes down, the snake as well. That's an interesting session. And what we're also going to look at doing is that when we give them tasks, we should try and give them tasks for only simple things, but the task should be very clear and very effective. What are you expecting from the task should also be given in a very clear format. So we call this a task sheet basically. Uh, Initially, we focus on giving children a small task like go and the utensils have been washed. Why don't you wipe them and keep it in their place? So when they start keeping them in their place, we could use Rinku ma'am's idea and saying that how we could use them for teaching multiplication. So repeated addition of number of spoons, number of plates, give them a perception that okay, right now we're just about 5 people in the family, and we've got these many utensils actually required. What if we had another 20 people come in for a gathering? Then how many plates and everything would be required, or how many spoons would be required? They may start trying to use the concept of multiplication over there. So at any given point, Sanaya sir, I've taken students to explain the concept of money to a shop near the school canteen. If I have explained the exchange of money to commodity, that is, if you want to buy a dairy milk, um, okay, so that's quite good. Amar sir, you've mentioned, yes, rounding off and multiplication using a dart. That's another very good value add. So I was talking about giving them a task sheet, so when you give them a simple task or a simple assignment to complete at home, try and give a very clear task sheet which talks about what you want them to do, why do you think they have to do it, and what is going to be the outcome. When they have these three things outlined very constructively for them, it becomes way too easier for them to actually relate to it. Uh, if we were to give them a task, then I thought, why not explore this task also with you guys? Uh, we will take a quick 5 minute session. This 5 minute is going to be very, very important. I hope all of you would have access to either a rough piece of paper or something in front of you. And I would tell you that I'll give you a assignment. Now, this assignment is actually meant for kids. What you need to do is to create a task sheet for them which you think would allow children to record their data in the most appropriate manner. So let's say uh, we give them a task saying that count the number of bottles. Please hear this carefully. I'll repeat once again. Count the number of bottles or glasses of water you and your family members consume on a daily basis and record this for a week. Now, I would request all the educators and teachers to take this question down. I'll repeat if there is a need for it, but I want you to take a sheet of paper and write down three things that you think should be involved in the task sheet when they are actually finding out all this information. What should that be? So you are not solving the assignment, you are creating a task sheet which will clarify to the child how to exactly look at math in a different perspective manner. So, uh, Swati ji, okay, am I audible now, Swati ji? Or is it still not very clear? Could you please leave a message on the group? I'll repeat the assignment once again. You need to ask children to actually count the number of glasses and bottles of water consumed by each and every family member and record that in a data sheet. Now, what kind of data should a child actually record? I would need all of you to take on a piece of paper and try and write down three important things which should be mentioned for a child. So, yes, Amar sir, it is based on data handling, but you need to ask them what will be the three things that you would include in a task sheet. So, this task sheet is very, very important. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, I'm going to hear your responses. Till then, don't put any chats. Let everyone think in the meantime. After you finished, then we're going to start asking one by one, each one of you, to come online and actually speak about it rather than just leaving a chat. So I think we can take 5 minutes. It's exactly 3:06. 3:11. We can again touch base. In the meantime, all of you could take, mute your mics and just wait for. Think of all the ideas you can. If at all anybody wants me to repeat the assignment, I could do that. Just leave a message on the chat. I will repeat for that. So yeah, your time is going on. Please start working on your assignment. Okay, Amar sir, I'll repeat. Um Basically, I'm saying a task which has to be given to children, and the assignment is not to be solved by you, but it's you have to create a task sheet. So the assignment says that count the number of bottles of water or glasses of water that you or your family member consume on a daily basis. Record this for 1 week and then present it later. So this is the assignment for the child. So as a teacher, what would you include in your task sheet is very, very important. So three things, bottles or glasses, whatever is convenient. That is a call which you as a teacher will take. And you will have to create a task sheet wherein you will be giving three set of instructions for children. And those instructions have to be very clear and it'll allow them to identify what needs to be identified in this situation. So we have section 1, 2, and 3. So what does a child need to find out? You have to work on the task sheet. So if anybody has any questions, please post it down. While the others could keep working, we have another 3 minutes left. Thank you so much, sir, for putting this on a message. Okay, Trupti ma'am, you were talking about repeat the three things that you should expect. Um, yeah, so basically you should try to identify, how will they do it? Why do they need to do it? And what is the relevance if the numbers were not actually going to be used, what would happen after that? I hope I was clear enough this time, and we have our time is up for our assignment. So, okay, great. So we could start. We could go one by one right from the top. Maybe we could take a few people. Aditi ma'am, are you there? Could you join us? Or anybody who'd like to join in, please feel free.
Hi, Aditi here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
What I would do is first explain why we need to do that, how important it is for us to record how much water we're drinking, and we can do so by the top sheet. Once we're clear with why we need to do this, then I'll explain how to do it and other ideas, and then I'll go through, give my ideas as in number of days in columns and number of family members in rows, and that's how we'll.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. Chaitali ma'am, if you can listen to us, could you unmute yourself? Or if anybody would like to join us?
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Hello. Yeah, it's
yeah,
Rinku, sir. Okay,
yeah, ma'am.
the three columns for the lower grade, what I'll include is number of family members, number of
Mm-hmm,
glass of waters consumed by
mm-hmm,
each family member, and the total number of glass of water consumed. And in
okay.
case if I am
Mm-hmm,
giving this assignment on a little higher grade, say from grade 3, grade 4 onwards, then I'll
mm-hmm,
include capacity. That's what is the capacity of the glass. So how much
mm-hmm,
total water in liters they consume, how much
mm-hmm,
it's been spilled or got wasted, as well as on the social awareness end, I will also make them aware as to how that water is important source,
mm-hmm.
and in case of wastage, how humans are going to get affected because of that.
Okay, interesting. That's a very good way of putting it across. Thank you so much. Anyone else
Excuse
would
me,
like
sir.
to jump in? Please come in.
Yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
yes, sir. Poonam here.
Yeah,
See,
please
first I
continue.
would explain to the children what is how much water they should consume daily, okay, and then how
Mm-hmm,
they will keep a check on that. For that, I will ask them to construct a pictograph. They will make a column, and for every glass they will draw a picture over there. In this way, they will come to know whether they are meeting their target or not, and based on that, we can ask questions also. Are you meeting your target? How many more glasses you need to include in your daily routine and etc. This way, I can give a rough idea how to calculate the correct amount.
actually very nice. In fact, if you go to see, you're actually teaching them basics of addition and subtraction. Like if they had 10 classes as a target, they've only met around six. That means they immediately do the subtraction concept also. Very nicely put across, ma'am. Thank you so much. Anyone else, please dive in. I'm going to
Sir,
take a
I'm
few
Yeah.
Vidya
more
here.
such responses.
Sir, I'm
Yeah,
Vidya here.
go ahead.
In fact, I would like to highlight on these 3 points while I'm assigning the task to the children. First,
Mm-hmm,
I'll ask them to write down the number of members in the family correctly. They should
mm-hmm,
know whose record they are maintaining. Secondly,
mm-hmm,
I'll ask them to record the number of glasses per person per day using the tally marks.
mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
then finally, I will have a third column where they will write the total number of glasses in a week.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be a plan for a week, sir.
That's very nice. That's a good way of putting it across. Thank you. Really appreciate it. We are getting a few responses on messages also. Rachna ma'am, your idea is good. Sunita ma'am, creating a data sheet, and I like your answers. So I would like if you could join us and explain what you have written so others could also follow your ideology, please. Sunita ma'am, if you can hear me, could you join us?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. This is Sunita.
Yeah,
I hope you're able to hear me.
yeah, I am. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, sir. It depends upon the age group. We can plan according to the level of the age, because we need to understand their understanding, whether if it is a grade 1 child or a grade 3 child. We can design the task sheet according to knowledge. I felt for a grade 1 child, we can give a simple grid where they can make it, as already many of them has suggested, like days from Monday to Friday, and one column can be a family members and one column can be a number of glasses or bottles that they are drinking. End of the day, they need to add up. After that, they can a simple bar graph to compare. Okay, father has drank more, or mother, or me, so that they will understand the importance of drinking water also, where the parents can take a lead to explain them.
Very good. That's a fantastic idea. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your inputs.
Thank you,
Trupti,
sir.
ma'am, would you like to join in and give some important? You've also given some relevant points. Trupti, ma'am, if you can hear me, would you like to join us? Okay, I think she will join us shortly. We have a good idea of consumption of water linked to RO purifier cartridge cost. That's another good way of looking at it. So, what we have understood, or what we can conclude with this discussion, is that at least, when we are planning a simple task for these kids, it is very, very important to create the right task sheet or an evaluation form for them to fill up. And like all of you have suggested some brilliant ideas, I think uh, we can only go on building on this and try to create as many in interesting areas of collaboration or something for the kids with their parents, which shows relevance. One of the examples was definitely to use water and to do that. I will just share, yes, ma'am. In fact, I was going to talk about that only. The electricity bills are going to be extremely high. Uh, Kids can actually start comparing this with the previous month bills and try to see that how this month's bill is going to be slightly high as compared to the last few months, because it's been almost a month that almost everyone's been at home, not stepping out. So the consumption has been a lot of a lot more higher as compared to the other situations. Uh, yes, the month-wise different consumption units could be explored, the bill amounts could be explored, a lot of that could be done. Apart from that, we are also trying. Okay, Trupti ma'am, you're back. If you could join us again with your pointers which you had spoken earlier. You had shared some good pointers, so could you join us now? um, Yes, Haritji, even at what time the consumption of water is high in the day. Yes, that's also an important thing to understand. You see the flow of water, what part of the day majority of the water is actually consumed. An interesting way of exploring your quarantine time. Uh, Okay, there's another important thing which I would share. I have seen the importance of this concept given, I mean, not that I have had the opportunity, but okay, are we having it in a proper way? Yes. Okay, so that's an interesting point to actually consider, that at what time is the consumption of water high in the day, and are we having it? I mean, are we consuming it properly, or is there a spaced out amount of water throughout the day? Thank you so much, Haritji. I was go back to my experience with Ratna International School, where
Hello.
I've seen the yes. I think someone's joined us. What is this? I'm sorry. Who's joined us right now? Yes, Trupti
Hello,
ma'am.
I'm
Go
Tripti
ahead.
here. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you about the relevance, like how important the intake of water is important during the intervals, like the timings whenever they're having it. It's like it won't be a fixed timing.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can hear
the
you,
size
ma'am.
of the
Go ahead.
container, the number of family members, intake of water between the different time intervals. The parents would also know how much intake of water is being taken by their own child and how important it is.
True.
They will realize the importance of it.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for
Yeah.
sharing your inputs. Okay. We'll go back to the point that I was just discussing that, when I visited, the school for the first time, I learned that, kids were told to plant a tree on their birthday rather than giving, gifts to children or chocolates to children. So, I was thinking the other day I started putting some pots in my balcony, and I started looking at the growth. So imagine if you could inculcate the habit of children growing plants at home and keeping a track of week after week, the terms of, the growth of the particular plant and seeing how much water is actually being used on a daily basis, what kind of pot, what kind of soil is needed, and a lot of math is involved in that also. Giving the plant the right amount of nutrition if the plant is at the place at the right angle, trying to make sure that there's enough sunlight coming to the plant. Will it grow? Yes, ma'am. I've learned this from you to try to interconnect as many things as possible, especially values, which your school is known for promoting. So it's it goes hand on hand. To remember how do you do things and how is math actually involved in it. So the more we are able to connect this with each and every concept of our daily use, it becomes a lot more easier for us as educators, parents to realize that okay, math can be told and explained out to children in a very reasonable manner rather than just putting in terms of sums and stuff. Uh, Another important point was that when you are giving assignments to kids, I think it's always interesting if you give them a challenge rather than giving them an assignment. So, any kind of challenge would always be exciting. So tell them to, identify or read the number of cases, which, some of the teachers also did mention in the chat box a while back about the use of COVID-19. Try and identify 5 states in our country which together they have less than 100 cases across India. So they identify all the states which have cases and then look at it, but then give them the importance of reading newspapers. That's another way of looking at it. So then we start relating numbers over there and we see that how the current situation, it also leads to some sort of positivity for kids to know that, okay, these are the 5 states where the number of cases are less as compared to what we're hearing about Maharashtra, very disturbing news. But to give children always a positive way of looking at things, it's important to relate that. So I'm just sharing a few more ideas that would allow us to do it. We'll also be looking at another concept of, allowing kids, trying to understand that whenever you're trying to give any kind of concepts, uh, another concept by RS was Bala Building and Learning Aid. Okay, that sounds interesting. Uh, okay, we'll just go back to a simple thing that when you are planning to do any sort of discussion with kids and you're doing it online. In my personal experience, uh, I think it's very important to have a shorter version of session. You don't need to have a very long version of session because after a point, a child loses some amount of interest that they kind of get, while sitting for a longer time in front of the screen. So we should have a very short session, very precise and a very clear one. The instructions should be very crystal clear. That's very important. Whatever you want them to do, make sure that children are able to understand what you're trying to give them. The task sheet we've already discussed, and create tasks which would allow children or want them to be willingness to do something. Give them to do something which they would not do in the usual time. That could include identifying that, okay, maybe they could go to every nook and corner of their house and identify which are the areas that require some amount of repairing and what are these things? Why do they need repairing? What could it be done to fix this? And once things get open, uh, which kind of a person do we really need? And if parents are aware, they could give them estimates that okay, approximately if a bulb has got spoiled, so then this will be the cost of it. So if 4 bulbs are spoiled or the spots are spoiled, what needs to be done? Whom are you supposed to get in touch with? So they start making their own reports and they can create a whole report in front of them for the parents that our beautification home project. I repeat this, the project of beautification home project is being utilized by almost 100 schools as of now, and every school is assigning this task to children, and they are allowing their kids to inspect their houses to identify what are the areas that actually need some amount of maintenance or some amount of repairs. And okay, have you lost my video? Should I restart my video once again?
Sir, I am able to see you, so that should not be a
Okay,
problem.
okay, fine, fine. So I'll go ahead. So yes, so this beautification project, like I was talking about, has gained a lot of momentum. Children are inspecting every nook and corner. Uh, Children are able to, help their parents in decisions which they were not involved in earlier. And they are observing, and they're also seeing that okay, their parents are working so hard. Okay, fine. So let's continue with the last topic that I wanted to bring to the table, and then I'll be taking a couple of question answers so that we could, have a good closure in terms of the session today. And the last part that I would want to talk about is curiosity. Uh, Whenever we talk about math, we have to create a good amount of curiosity for children when it comes to numbers. So let's say, uh, I mean, it's season for mangoes, right? So the this is actually something that I'm just sharing. It's an on the spot thought process. This happened with us in our society. We all ordered crates of mangoes, and each crate, till the time it actually got delivered to us, there was a confusion because the size of the mango was about either 200 grams each or 250 grams each, and we were told if it's about 200 grams each, we'll get about 6 dozens of mango. But if it's about 250 grams each, we'll get about 5 dozens of mangoes, but the price remains the same. So we were under the impression that, okay, we don't know what's going to happen. We did a perfect calculation that if at all we have 250 grams or we have 200 grams, if the increase in the number of quantity, will we actually get the same amount of weight? So let's say, do I get 250 grams into 5 dozens or 200 grams into 6 dozens? Now, that's the kind of decision which children usually would not make. So give them an opportunity, give them curiosity, let them explore that okay, this is where relate, take up an old cricket match, let them watch that and watch the highlights with them, enjoy and make them see that how exactly math has been used in form of a cricket match. Take a book which they love reading, let them read that and tell you, or pick up a newspaper, an online newspaper, and identify how many words actually have vowels in it, and then tell them to make a list of it, of all the words, and then count that in this article there were about 25 words, this article had about 30 words, which article had more vowels in it, uh, proper nouns in it, or nouns in it, or how many punctuation marks were used, was it actually required, not required, just in terms of using the numbers, in terms of generating that curiosity. So it's very important for us as educators to look at the fact that curiosity is the only thing which will make them want to open their textbooks. Giving them an assignment or a task which they would not really enjoy doing doesn't make sense. So, the fact that when we started our session, I made you look around you and you all started pouring it with so many examples of, math being used around you. I mean, we have to start with that. The most basic thing. Pick up the most simple thing. Everyone's using mobile phones as of today. So start picking up your mobile phones. Tell them to identify what do you think is a math property actually being used over here. Is what kind of a shape is it? Is the screen big enough? Is there anything where you can convert in terms of numbers? So anything that you can relate to numbers, you have to. Like for example, my specs. Count the number of objects used to construct this whole specs. Just to start counting. I mean, anything and everything. It always just generates some amount of curiosity. So I hope our today's discussion, when it comes to at least a few points in terms of introducing creative math, while we are looking at all the other areas, it is based on a few principles. So you've got to explore, you've got to experiment, you have you have to learn to experiment and see which one will actually lead to something or the other. You will have to give them a good amount of task sheets. And the most important part is your connection with number literacy. Now, I would want this platform to be open in terms of asking questions. I would expect you all to put up a question one by one, and then I could start, discussing this on a more one-on-one basis. It'll be easier to address each and every question. Could you please start posting any questions that you can think of, or any topic that you think would be of any help? I would love to help you on that. I hope I'm still audible to everyone.
Yes, sir, I can hear you, and I believe others can as well.
That's good to hear. We have a first question. Yes, it is very important. So we can create, that's the reason why we are customizing our tasks based on their personal observation and not just a random sheet. Recently, when I was discussing with a few school teachers and they were creating their assignments, we discussed with them rather than giving them a task of, there was a question which said there were about 18 steps in every fleet of stairs, and if how many stairs would there be there in a 20-story building or an 18-story building? So we started telling them why not use their own building as an example. The more you give them standardized questions, the more you lose the connectivity with the child. Let every question be customized or relatable to the child so that they can build a relationship that it's my building, so I need to find out what exactly need, I mean, what are the number of steps actually there. We have a question, how many tasks a day should we give them? I think for the small graders, grade 1 and 2, I think one task for every 2 days is relevant. While for grade 3 and 4, one task a day is sufficient. It would be a lot more easier. Uh, Swati ma'am has given a question. Can you please guide about multiplication table? Kids are not interested, they feel boring. Yes, that's an interesting point. There are two parts that are involved in multiplication. One is to make them understand about the tables, right? So we need to give them a justified reason why they need to know tables. So according to me, if you ask me about 1 to 12 is sufficient. But when you are practicing with them, I have a game which I've used it with kids at home several times. Uh, they could either pick up a softball or they could pick up a table tennis racket with the TT ball, or they could pick up anything which they can continuously throw. They have to play this with their parent only. That's when it's going to be interesting or fun with them. These kids would enjoy tables only and only when they have a competition to play. So let's say hypothetically, um, I play a table tennis racket, and I am playing with my parent, and I've given them an instruction that with every tap I have to count two. So two, four, six, eight. This will only allow them to understand repeated addition, what exactly they're doing in terms of repeated addition, which is very easy for any child. The actual task begins when both the parent and the child are actually playing the game in a reverse format. So when they're going from 20, 18, 16, 14, 12, when they play something on these lines, they're actually memorizing tables because kids find it easy to do repeated addition, but they're not able to do repeated subtraction. So that's the time when memorization becomes a little more easy. And there's a good amount of competition between child and the parents. So if they both are playing, it becomes easy that way. So that's one of the most popular and the best that has worked and has been working in the quarantine time as well. So I hope that helps over there. Fine. So the next question is, um, during times like this, if one were to take assessments, what platforms would you suggest would be helpful in terms of ease of use as well as functionality? See, for the primary section, I would say I would still recommend the brick and mortar method because you want them to write on a piece of paper and pen because when they use an app, they may be able to generate the correct answers, but as a teacher, you'll never know how they're actually thinking. So it's very important for you to use a paper and pen. They could scan the papers or take pictures and send it to you as a teacher. I would still go with that because that's still easier to understand what a child was thinking. And as a teacher, I'm sure everybody would agree that it's pretty obvious that when you see a written sheet of paper, you understand if a child has actually understood something or not understood something. Um, yes, tables does become a little issue. Sahanya Khan, you mentioned, can you emphasize on a hyperactive child? Now, when a hyperactive child comes in, you have to break your entire concept of playing with them or doing anything in a smaller version. So instead of doing a task for about 20 minutes, you rather do 5 minutes, but do it at four different intervals, because that's the time when you can actually, they have very limited amount of attention span. However, I'm not an expert in special needs education, but in my limited experience that I have seen, when children are not really keen or they are not very open to learning, we always break down their learning into different parts. So we do part one, part two, part three, part four, and part five. If at all that works, that means the child is just losing lack of interest or because of lack of attention. Otherwise, that works well in usual times. Make sure that is repeated addition. Okay. Thank you, Nishaji, for bigger number. It will work. Yes, Chaitali ji, for bigger numbers also it will work. It adds a lot of value because when they have to do repeated addition for bigger numbers, that itself becomes a little task for them. So they would be able to follow that. Vandana ji, what about multiplication? That's a good question. For pure multiplication, we have a common game which is there in every household, and I would love to use that. And that game is none other than an Uno game. So every household would have an Uno cards game. Ask parents to play with them, and when you look at an Uno game, tell them to combine any two cards and just start, like say, let's compete. Okay, we start with the first round, the most basic one, wherein I and my parent, we get about 30 seconds time frame. We pick up two cards. I pick up the two cards. It's got four and two. I multiply and make it eight. I pick up again two cards and again I multiply. It becomes 12. So they keep doing that about in 30 seconds and see who can actually reach there faster. But when we look at doing a little bigger numbers, we could tell those children to pick up two cards, form a two-digit number, and then multiply the third number and do the same task for about 30 seconds. This is purely for children who have a knowledge about multiplication and get a simple understanding of that, not for building a concept. Um, okay, now we have Swatiji, thank you. Okay, so how do we teach divide? It's quite a difficult concept. Yes, I do agree. With a situation like this, it becomes more easier for you. Uh, you know, okay. Thanks, Vandana ji. I'm glad you're going to try this out. I'm looking forward to seeing if something really materializes over there. Now, when it comes to divide, we are in times wherein everything available to us is quite limited, right? So we kind of try to make sure that every family member is getting equal amount of food, but at the same time, nobody is really going through any difficult times. So apart from that, if we could build this concept with children that your family could be able to survive with it, what about the people who cannot survive with it? So you've got to assume that, let's say, you can't reach out to people who are in need, but if you were to divide this for among 10 people's food, or you had to make sure that everybody gets the right amount of food, you could just try and have a discussion that, imagine we are six people, we get this much food, and this is sufficient enough for us. But if we were to distribute the same amount of milk for about four more people who don't even get basic food, how much would each one of us actually get? But again, that's more on the theoretical part. Um Yes, Amarji, we could use marbles for that. But if we talk about the technical aspect of divide, and if you want to play a game with a parent or with a child at home, I think the best way of doing that is, maybe pick up things like, like Amarji said, marbles, uh, at this point of time, clips for, you use for drying your clothes. Tell them to take all the clips and tell them that the big clothes need about three clips in it. So if you have about five different big clothes or big chadars to be dried up at this time, so how many, I mean, would these many clips actually suffice or no? So giving them an application a little more of their relevance would add more value. Um, Divide the time each family member will get with the gadget. That's a very good part. Divyaji, actually, everyone's struggling because everyone's working from home with limited number of gadgets. It does get difficult. In fact, yesterday when some parent was trying to discuss timings with two children in the same house, they had to choose different days because of sharing of the laptop. So yes, that's a very good point. Use of chocolates, yes. Well, some people are getting, some people are not getting chocolates. So the ones who are getting, I hope you're having a nice time. Green peas, yes. Make children actually tell them to help their parents to open up all the peas and then tell them if we have certain amount of green peas and X amount has to be used for certain number of vegetables. So how many would be required? So equally divide them. So these are also another good examples for using of division. Uh, yeah, I mean, if I missed any question, please post it back. Madhuji, I think I missed your question about suggestion for loading table 6, 7, 8 because when it comes to a higher number, it becomes difficult for them. So Madhuji, we'll just look into the fact that if at all you're looking at bigger numbers, you could try and play a number game with them. The number game would be to use Uno cards and tell them that they have to form two-digit numbers such that it becomes a multiple or a table of eight. So tell them to use all the cards possible and tell them to create a table of eight continuously, and then the next round could be to skip one number. So eight ones are eight, skip eight twos and go to eight threes are, and then they could combine the two cards and actually place it there. So that would also become, great. You're most welcome for the suggestions to teach divide. Okay, yes, teaching students the real object definitely makes it interesting. Ideally, I would have been a huge supporter of hands-on activity with the parent and teacher and child. But when it comes to actually using this situation, you've got to involve the parents, so you've got to involve the child to pick up something, feel it, and do something out of it. Um, Great. So I'm glad, Matuji. I hope this works for you. If it doesn't work, you can also look at using Tambola as a game. The board has all the numbers, tell them to identify in a span of about 30 seconds all the numbers that come in the table of 4, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, all that would come over there. Number of petals in flowers, yes, that's fabulously well. We can actually use that to do a multiplication concept. Ask children to serve the sliced pieces of fruits equally amongst family on the dining table. Yes, so give them the concept of how to cut fruits and do it in an appropriate manner. Yes, even pizza slice also helps in division. Yes, now talking about fraction, this is a very common example I've used in a couple of my other sessions, but I don't know if how many of you have heard me in the past. Uh, the basic idea of fraction is to tell a child to watch the television show, spend about 30 minutes, what he or she would anyways do, and then create a fraction of how much time is actually the TV time and how much time is actually your break time. So that gives them a simple understanding. That gives it a very easy way for them to understand that say 8 minutes out of 30 minutes was about purely time given for fractions in terms of advertisement, while 22 minutes was given in terms of the pure content of the program. So that's one way of looking at fraction, and also giving them a very simple perspective that math, when you do fraction, or you can watch an older match and tell them to watch how a cricketer is actually bowling. So let's say if a batsman is batting, tell them to see after every ball, write down the fraction. So the maximum a batsman can actually score in one ball is 6 runs. So when he hits, if he hits a four, so he got 4/6. The second ball, he gets a duck ball, so it's like 0/6. Then 4/6. Like this, I think fractions could also be explored. Now, thank you. I hope that works for your kids as well. Um, yeah, I mean, pizza slices, I mean, think that that's the most common example used even in classrooms. So I was trying to think that how we could think out of the box and maybe think in a slightly unique manner. Shade one quarter in a square. Yeah, that could also be important. In fact, talking about a quarter and a square, there's this one activity which has done really well for kids. It was a part of the beautification home project, which said that if at all, if we could have count the number of tiles in the whole house, and if you were to draw the number of tiles and then say shade about one-fourth number of tiles or about half the number of tiles, and that just gives them a way of, because then every child has a different number of tiles in their own house, so it becomes very Good. Charging time and battery usage. Yes, that's another good fraction. That how often, in fact, with this, I will also show you an example. I'm not too sure if I will be able to show it in proper, brightness. Is my phone visible to everyone? Yes. So I think when you look at any phone, and as of today, they would have a breakup about your battery. So your battery percentage, it shows how much time are you actually using what different part of your battery, so that just gives them a different perspective to make tasks at how much time are they spending or their parents are spending on office going apps or on Netflix or any other aspect. Um, okay, thank you, ma'am, for sharing an interesting link. I'll definitely check it out later. Okay. Okay, so oranges can be used for fraction. Yes, in fact, oranges is a very good example, Pratyush, because what happens in that is every orange would have X number of, slices that will come out. So it's always interesting to see if we both open up an orange together. So how many slices am I getting and how many are you getting? And like say in 60 seconds, how many am I consuming and how many are you consuming? So yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Can we look at any other questions over here? We have about a couple of minutes more. If at all if typing is too much of a task, just unmute your mic and you can just, shout out a question. Feel free to do that. We have a good amount of time. Dairy Milk Chocolates, good session. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Yeah, Dairy Milk chocolate bar is also a good example. I mean, that's the most classic and the best way of
Sir,
actually reproducing it.
yes, sir, I
Yeah,
think a lot of products have, details of ingredients per 100 gram mentioned on their
correct.
labels, the food labels. That can also be an
Correct.
interesting aspect kids can look into.
Yes, absolutely. That definitely becomes a part of our decimals, fractions, weight conversion, and also gives us an opportunity to explore whatever food that we are actually, eating or consuming. It becomes quite interesting for them to see what are they actually eating. We have another question which talks about estimation. Uh, how to start a class for grade one on estimation? Ma'am, this is a brilliant question, and this is one of the most important skill set that we all lack when it comes to math. We don't realize how estimation actually could work. So what you're going to do is you tell children to pick up any object that they really like at their home. Tell them to take that object, and Nisha ji, I'll just come back to you shortly on that. So what you're going to do is you're going to focus on one part, that you take any basic object, take that object and tell them take anything on there. So maybe it could be a tablet or it could be part of the wall, and they have to guess while they're on the screen that okay, this object, I think we need about five of them to actually cover that entire table or something. So maybe that could be right or no, and then actually tell them to use that and then measure it. Let them know that if their estimation says about 5 blocks, but in reality it might be 8 blocks, they'll know that how bad that their estimation is actually. I think that's the best way to get started with them when it comes to estimation, at least. How to explain graph to grade two students? Nisha ji, you know, uh, one of our teachers gave a brilliant idea a while back, and which said, have a chart of number of glasses. So I was thinking, why not maybe you use the same concept and try and do something. So I'll just show you an illustration, which I'm just creating right now. I hope, is this screen visible to everyone? It's a black screen. So let's say, so this is a number of glasses. Now, I don't think you'll be able to read it properly, but you can see the number of glasses. So let's say hypothetically, if we have all these glasses drawn out beforehand, and we could have different days, let's say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all of them written down. And say on Monday, if I had, say, three glasses, so this is my completed bar graph. For those who are not able to see, just if you could see a little bit, I'm not too sure if it would be that great. Yes, so this is where they create their own graphs, and they are in a position to actually highlight that, okay, out of 10 glasses, I've had four glasses, next day I had five glasses, next day I had six glasses. They can actually see a good graph or a good way of doing graphical representation. Um okay, we had nutrients mentioned, chocolate bars of different sizes, estimate weight, number of pieces. Yes, all of that is there. Rupa ma'am mentioned nutrients mentioned on food packets, percentage. The students can relate. Yes, very well. Uh, Thank you, sir, for putting this on YouTube. I hope this would help a lot of other people. Um, yes, Triptiji, you're saying you had done an activity by asking students to bring an empty biscuit wrapper and ask them to write the weight, date, and pack mentioned on the wrapper. Excellent. Um, so I think the YouTube channel is also mentioned there, so all of you could get access to whatever we've discussed. Use of fractions in making lemonade or any other recipe. That's interesting. Uh, yes, how to introduce volume. Volume is an important aspect. What you could do is you could tell them that this is a glass. Now, this glass needs to be, I don't know the capacity of this glass, but I do know the capacity of this bottle. It has about, say, 1 liter. Now, I'm going to ask them to pour this water out here, and after how many times does this bottle really empty out? Does it exactly fill this three times, four times, and then tell them to start understanding the concept of it? Uh, since we all are at home right now, I'm sure a lot of parents are doing a lot of cleaning and cleansing up all old boxes and cartons. Take children's help and tell them that what would happen if they can actually identify which all boxes would come in a particular big box or no. Try and identify that, just suggesting, this is what could be done to begin with. Okay, supermarket bill for addition subtraction. Yeah, so I hope that works well. And if at all there are any questions, I'm glad you could put that on the comment section over there, and we'll try our level best to help you out in whatever way. And I hope you all had a wonderful session. If you do, please share your thoughts over here before we leave. I would love to hear that. It's always very encouraging. Thank you so much. I'm glad.
Friends, you could share your feedback by unmuting yourself and sharing your thoughts about this session. We will be bringing you more sessions, and it would be really encouraging if you all could, express your thoughts freely. Anything we can do to improve.
Yes, so sir, I would like to express myself.
Okay, please
Hello?
go ahead, Manisha ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah,
please
ma'am.
go ahead.
Yeah, this is, thank you, Divesh sir. This is my second session with you. First, I have attended on THT. It was an awesome session. If you would arrange some more, you just say me. I'm interested in such session. It would help me as well as my kids.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, then I think this is a time to say goodbye, and I hope we all stay creative and we start looking at more and more ideas. I think the next time when we meet, the first thing you will tell me is at what angle are we going to form a namaste? Is it going to be 90 degrees or no? I think that's some good food for thought, right?
Divesh sir, this has been a really wonderful session by you, and we certainly look forward to more sessions with you and to benefit the students, the teachers, and educators on how we can make maths the subject of love for everyone. In fact, India is known for maths. We are the strongest maths people around. So really a huge thank you to you for joining in and delivering this wonderful session to us and to all the teachers. We look forward to your second session with the secondary educators. So friends, please hold on. People who want to continue into the second session, we will be continuing, and we'll be having Divesh sir with us for yet another hour for how to take on mathematics for secondary students. So a lot of secondary teachers are already here. So without wasting more time, I would hand it again over to Divesh sir. You may want to take a 5-minute short break, sir. We are all waiting for you, and then we could start with our secondary session.
I need a minute.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Sure, ma'am.
So, Divesh ji, once again, thank you very much for this exciting session. And I am intrigued by your different concepts that you come up with every time. It was initially the math, then unmath, then it is a nature math or green math. I'm very keen to know that, and please take us as your project school or pilot school and teach us, collaborate with us, and we are very keen to developing that scientific aptitude, mathematical aptitude in children using these innovative methods that are your brain children. So I'm so happy. In 2014, when I had met you, I could see that spark in you and that kind of a passion in somebody who is an entrepreneur, who is keen for education and right education. It makes me fill my heart with so much of pride, because this is how educators inspire each other. I am inspired by you. I'm sure my team and so many people who are learning from you on a daily basis these days are inspired by you. May God bless you. And it was a pleasure to have you here. Looking forward to the next session in a few minutes. Before we move out of this, is there any parent, any participant, especially non-RRIS participant, who would like to express their experience? You can unmute yourself and go ahead. With Divesh sir's permission, if we have a few minutes.
Yeah, I would like to, I am Kalyani Chaudhary. Thank you, Dr. Jaya. I was listening to Mr. Divesh, and I was just hoping that, every maths teacher thinks like Mr. Divesh. Simple, and how you would make it interesting. Like going to the class with 2 oranges and they look forward to what you are going to do with the oranges. That's a fantastic idea. So I think these kind of ideas have to go into the classroom. And thank you so much, Mr. Divesh, that you have kind of made my my English brain think like a mathematician now. So during this period, I am going to go into my kitchen and find different things that can go into the math classroom. Thank you so much.
Let's prepare ourselves together, Kalyani ji, one day.
Yes, definitely.
And for those who have not been introduced, Ms. Kalyani is the principal of Billabong High, Thane. She is also going to be one of the expert speakers at Aadharshila Talks. So we look forward to having ma'am here at this platform, and all of you to join us for that talk as well.
Thank you so much.
I think Kalyani ma'am and I have spoken a few times over the phone, but I think this is the first time we are virtually e-meeting each other.
Yes.
Great. So, thank you so much, ma'am.